a little bit more background on the Scattered Shores, if you're interested in lore and whatnot. This is essentially what it looks like everywhere you go. Ships, ocean, and scattered islands throughout. Random encounters galore. This is Salt Rock Isle. This is where the Storm Chaser was heading during Session Zeros up to 4. They came to the town under attack by merfolk. Organized merfolk, utilizing sharks, crabs, kuatoa. I mean, they had their fingers on everything that was inside the ocean. Giant crabs. And it looked like a giant octopus or maybe a kraken pulled a ship completely under at the dock. They managed to sneak onto the island, save some civilians, and clear out the areas that they went through. At about midnight, the assault ended abruptly and everything disappeared, and they watched all the creatures move off towards the north. It was kind of fun the way we started it. I made a bunch of different action scenes on all of the islands out here. Like this one over here had a adventuring party, a couple of level ones that were just pre-made. That's the Storm Chaser approaching. This was like Thieves Guild-esque, but more arcane in nature. Criminal Syndicate, I guess, island that everybody just stayed away from. And then we had the rich people's island. This is where all the nobles stayed. The noble family that runs Salt Rock had their own little crag over here. But all of these had different little scenes going on, different attacks happening, and as we introduced everyone to the game, they played and acted out different characters that weren't their original PCs, which was super fun. And they got to test a little bit of different RP choices before they actually jumped into the game. I thought that was a pretty cool way to do it. So they cleared it out. They even found a cool vault to raid, got some magic items off the bat. But that kind of solidified their unit cohesion and got them all on the same page of what their desires are, except for Jam. He's just there. He's just there to have a good time. And he will, I'm sure, have a Jerry kiosk set up on Salt Rock at some point in the future. Then they moved on, and we ended up we're at Salt Rock. We ended up catching a couple of different areas. We found some myconids. As they followed some knowledge they were dropped, they headed north to see what these merfolk were doing. And they headed north, and the ley lines led them. The only thing that they could possibly pit stop at was a rock shore like this, so they decided to investigate. And they went down underneath. There was a fungal-infested octopus snoozing in the entranceway. They coerced their way in to talking to it, and to their pleasure, not displeasure, this was actually a myconid colony that was in a state of disarray because they lost contact with a branch of their colony to the northwest. They came in, had a conversation with the myconids. Everything went nice and peacefully. They ended up getting a cool magic item, one that I stole from Baldur's Gate 3, the Sovereign's Amulet, so now they can share charisma on certain checks. But they wound their way up and through, came around, and did a little bit more exploring. There was a stagnant air pocket in this area. As the tide goes in and out, the air has never left this area, and lo and behold, there was a coffin, and inside a coffin was a certain gentleman with pointed teeth, the guy we just talked about, Dread, who is on the ship, and now the undead patron of one vice. So that was pretty cool. That was a cool little engagement with the guys. We also made a pit stop at the, I believe it was Snakebone Island. Yeah, it was. Snakebone. After the Myconids, they continued on their northwest trajectory. Oh, the Myconids also tasked them. They said, hey, will you bring one of our little guys with you? Little toadstool man. Basically just an extension of the Sovereign's telepathic influence. But they got him. They're going to go clear merfolk out of a cave attached to a human civilization somewhere along the main ley line to the northwest. And they, on their way up, they saw this. Captain Kine said, yeah, go take a pit stop, see what these guys are doing. Turns out they got here. An old pirate knows Captain Kine. They have a loose relationship, but they did a pretty hairy trade. Gruff trade is what I would. It wasn't hairy. They did a good job. Not without the threats of violence. But they managed to get their hands on a ship-sized cracked broomstone. The Storm Chaser could do a lot, but it can't fly. And Captain Kine has his eyes set on the skies, so getting that broomstone really boosted their elevation within Captain Kine's eyes. But yeah, they had to come onto the island. They made a little deal. Got the broomstone, which the pirate captain had harvested off of a recently crashed Wizard's airship. And it looked to be already picked clean when he got there, but he managed to rough out one of the cracked broomstones. And then they moved on, and we got to what I have aptly named Inventory Island. And as they came upon this island, this humanly populated island, they approached from the west on their little dinghy. They moved in through these caverns, nice and stealth-like, and they got a view of the beach there, and they were like, oh crap, what's going on there? There's much less fire before they got there, and actually the barricades weren't even there. That's the fun part about Tailspire. As the battle progresses, you progress the battle, visually also. But they managed to roll some good perception checks. There was a ship here. If you didn't notice, there was a ship next to the Storm Chaser. On the Storm Chaser map, they commandeered a ship. They managed to come in, clear out the front wave, the front walls. They retreated into the cave. They grabbed the ship and darted out. Opted for a short rest before they came back. Since they did that, fortifications were installed. They got ready. A couple of funny rolls. A cannon ended up in front, a cannon ended up in the back. This happened, but they managed to fight off the guardians of this area, which was another low-level adventuring party. I like to do that. I get to play more PCs that way. But they find their way in. They work their way in. They made friends with a burrowing beetle man that seemed to have made his home in the side cave. He came in and helped a little bit. As they moved their way in, they noticed that there is tons of stuff in here. Tons and tons and tons of stuff to salvage. They are pretty low at this point. This is where we're currently at, and where our Friday session is going to begin. But they came around the corner after clearing out a bunch of bad guys on the way through. The uniques that they managed to dispatch, they used as, well, fear tactics. They threw them in front of these people that were hiding around the corner. They overheard them whispering. Conversation ensued after that point. The last remaining pirates and whatever mermen were making deals with these pirates are all that remain inside. After a brief conversation, the party managed to infuriate the larger of the merfolk, these two gentlefolk up front, and they are not taking it anymore. Basically, they were called thieves, and they're honorable, and they're not thieves. So they said, call us thieves again, and we're gonna have a problem. And Jam, the robot, said, you are thieves. Miss, identifying the situation, and we are going into initiative. But the current setup is these three are probably noticed. These three hiding on the boxes, I think, are remained in stealth as we roll initiative. But we have three, possibly more, pirates hiding in the area. Two very large brute-like mermen. Two shielded royal-looking mermen, and one that seemed to have been in charge, and he was doing all the talking prior to that. He looks like a merfolk royalty of some sort. But we are in initiative. That doesn't mean it has to stay that way. As things shift, obviously things can change. This guy's not stupid. He knows that this isn't the entire crew of whatever ship just assaulted and destroyed the island. So with that in mind, we'll see where that plays out to. But right now it's a pretty cool spot to jump in during the thing. They are level 3. The way that we're running this campaign is every PC has started with 9s across the board for stats. So we didn't do any dice roll or anything like that. We're trying a new system where something kind of I've pieced together from like what I know from Skyrim and Fallout and all that stuff. But basically, you're going to get 1 ASI towards any stat you want every single level. So you're going to get 1, and they don't degrade like point by it. They're not going to get 2. Once you get to 16, it's 3 points, and stuff like that. It's just you get 1 every single time, put it where you want. Still getting feats at all the feat marks, so you can go ASI for your feats, boost your stats there up to 20. Custom feats attached, and then we're going to be... There's a lot more items, magic items in the game that are just like, this is a +1 ASI for this. This is a +1 ASI for this. This is a +2 ASI for this. So I didn't want them to feel lacking, but we also have a broader attunement system as well. I steal. I'm a thief, just like that barnacle guy right there. I've taken the ideas from I like RPGs, video game RPGs. I like having more stuff to accentuate what I want my guy to look like. Most earliest example, easiest probably one for everybody to notice, would be the Baldur's Gate 3 system. But my guys they can do 1 head item, 1 armor, 1 set of hands, boots, 3 unique useful items. That's like immovable rod, magic mirror, stuff like that. Trinkets, which are amulets, brooches, circlets, all that kind of stuff. They get 2 trinkets, 2 rings, 1 ring on each hand, 2 main hand, 2 main hand, 2 offhand. But if you attune to it as a main hand or offhand, that's the only way it works. But it is, it broadens the attunement so you're not stuck, and it also gives me a lot more freedom to do like cool abilities that I think would be really fun to see in a game, and I get to test it out on them, not feel bad because they got stuff. They're not floundering. But they aren't getting +5s at level 3, you know what I mean? They don't have +7s on their things at level 3. I'm shooting DC 11 and 10 crap at them and never landing. Like, there's no peril attached to that. So instead of giving them super huge boosted stats right away, only the 9s straight across are pre-racial bonus also. So your 9 straight across, you get your pre-racials, so 1 gets bumped to 10, 1 gets bumped to 11. Or with Tasha's and stuff like that, I even let them do 3 to 1 if they wanted. Prerequisites didn't matter for the first class, but I do make prerequisites matter for your second, so you're going to have to tailor your ASIs as you grow towards your cross-classing, and I think that adds a little bit more character depth than just getting what you want because you want it, versus the other way that a lot of people do, saying like, oh, you can't be a wizard unless you study magic, so you're going to have to work that into your RP. I'm having these guys put their skills where they want as they gain them, and as they gain power, they're going to understand their characters a little bit better. I think they will. But we're testing it also. We could find some junk that doesn't work, so we'll see how that works out.